Today on CityCast Boise. After 20 years with the same mayor, Garden City is finally getting a leadership shakeup. Meanwhile, Boise State's hunt for a new president still hasn't produced a full slate of finalists. And there's a perfectly unserious 0.5K race this weekend with donuts at the halfway mark. It's Friday, October 10th. I'm Lindsay Van Allen, and this is what Boise's talking about. Happy Friday, everyone, and joining me to break down the biggest headlines of the week is our Hey Boise newsletter editor, Blake Hunter. Thanks so much for being here, Blake.
Hey, Lindsay. Happy to be here.
Blake, it's election season, so definitely some of the biggest headlines are about different elections that are happening. So I thought that this Friday we would focus in on the Garden City mayoral race. And this is kind of a big deal because Garden City's mayor, John Evans, has been the mayor for 20 years. And he's no longer seeking re-election, but that seems to have opened a path for three candidates, and people seem to have a lot of strong feelings about what direction Garden City should go. What are some things that really stood out to you about how this race is being covered and the candidates and, you know, the overall idea that Garden City is losing this long-term mayor?
Yeah, like you said, I mean, it's a big deal to be losing a mayor of 5 terms. Like, that's so long. He was elected originally to city council in 95. So he's been a prominent leader, one of the city's highest leaders since 95. So that's a long tenure. And of course, things are going to be shaken up when someone like that leaves. And I also want to mention that there are 5 city council seats in Garden City, and 2 of those are up for election. Those are just citywide; they're not like actual district separated. So there's also going to be potentially 2 new leaders there. One of the city council members, Bill Jacobs, is actually running for the mayor's office. So he obviously is immediately a really prominent candidate. Anytime you have a city council member running for it, that's just a promotion, basically. Meanwhile, you have 2 other candidates who are kind of throwing their hat in the ring. Molly Lenti, I would say, is his biggest challenger. She is a College of Western Idaho board trustee. So, immediately right there, she has some acumen for sure. College of Western Idaho being a prominent, institution that is involved in Garden City. And then we also have Teresa Roundy, who's another political newcomer. She has not currently raised any campaign funds and focuses a little bit all over the place. It seems like she's really, really focused on like human trafficking and crimes against children. And so she hasn't, like I said, has not raised any campaign funds. So essentially, this is a race between Bill Jacobs and Molly Lenti as far as actual campaigning. And the 2 of them met in a forum last week. Curious your thoughts on how that went.
Yeah, they've had a couple of forums. I think what I'm reading and gathering from these forums is they have 2 very different ways of looking at the role of a mayor. And what Bill Jacobs has said is that he emphasizes his experience, saying, when it comes to running the city, I'm ready on day one. I know the staff, I know the budgets, I know the operations. He said, we're going to hit the ground running. This isn't going to be something where we have this long learning curve to get into this role. And he said that service is something he's really focusing on and that he has this history of serving the city. And his focus has been very much on operations. He talks a lot about we have to keep all the services running exactly as everyone wants them to while we grow, while we have these tight budgets. We need to keep our city functioning and thriving. And so that seems to be where a lot of his focus is, and that he wants to make sure that growth is sustainable, that growth is supported, that current residents are also supported, and that, we've had stories on the show recently about there's issues with the sewer, there's issues with roads, and it seems like a lot of his campaign has been focused on, you have to do the little things. You have to do the things that are not sexy and not fun and not, exciting in a campaign to keep a city running. And that seems to be what I've gotten from what he said in these forums and at different campaign events. I do want to mention we have reached out to all of the candidates and asked for statements or anything that they'd like read. It was just a short amount of time, so a little less than 24 hours. We did hear back from Molly Lenti. I didn't hear back from Bill Jacobs. I don't want that to influence anybody one way or the other. It was a very short amount of time, but we did hear back from Molly Lenti. And Blake, like you said, she's serving her second term as a College of Western Idaho trustee. And she said that she wants to focus on guided growth, fiscal responsibility, safety first, with a lot of emphasis on the police, and that she wants to have a vision. It doesn't seem like she talks so much about operations necessarily, but about vision and collaboration and partnerships with other agencies. And how she's going to use those collaborations and those partnerships to build the vision for Garden City. I do want to note that her treasurer is Tommy Alquist, and he's a former Republican gubernatorial candidate. And his company bills itself as Idaho's leading commercial real estate developer. So if you're in Garden City, you get to decide what that means for you to have her treasurer be one of the leading commercial real estate developers and what that might mean for Garden City. But at a recent forum, something that I thought was really interesting, I'm calling this public records gate, Blake. But Molly Lenti in a couple of forums has said that she filed a public records request and as an illustration of how poorly, in her perspective, Garden City government was being run, she didn't get that request filled for 13 days, and Idaho code requires that local governments fill those requests in 10 business days, which on the surface seems like, that seems like a problem. But at one of the most recent forums, candidate Bill Jacobs said that after Molly Lenti had mentioned this in several forums, he went to go check it out. So he inquired about it with city staff and was told that the city had no record of a public information request filed by Molly Lenti. So I'm curious about Public Records Gate. I'd like to know, was this request made? Was it not fulfilled? What's going on here? Because for a small town mayoral race, I'm like, oh, that's a little bit of juicy drama right there.
It is. And at the same time, my take on this race right now is just like, I don't know. Everybody's just throwing out kind of keywords, to be honest.
Oh, yeah.
Like she's talking about being a visionary. He's saying, no, I'll focus on the operations. I think on paper, they're both saying that they're going to do a little bit of both. I think you could definitely say that Bill Jacobs, being a city council member under John Evans, this might be a little bit more of the same. I'm just like that's I think like the narrative, like the image of this race that's kind of coming together. But at the same time, I mean, Garden City is changing so quickly.
Yeah.
And both of them are recognizing that. Both of them are talking about that. And I'm just like, I'm not seeing policies. Like, I'm not really seeing innovative housing solutions. I think that that's the biggest thing that Garden City residents probably want to talk about. And certainly something that these, mayor and city council candidates are talking about as far as how to keep the city feasible and affordable for long-term residents while also building new developments and stuff. But I'm not really seeing a lot of rubber meet the road. I'm not really seeing many policies actually being proposed here. And so, frankly, if I was a Garden City resident, I'd be looking at these two and just being like, what's with the drama? Can you actually give me something? Can you actually put something on paper that will make me feel like you have a real contender for leadership? I think that Lenti is really leaning into being a new candidate, a new person on board. Jacobs is really just saying, I'm here. I know how to run this. I've got the connections and I know what the day-to-day looks like. Both are great. Both are also learning curves, but where's the actual meat of their proposals? That's what if I was a Garden City resident, that's what I would be like, okay, y'all, can we have a little respect here? Not to say that they're being disrespectful actually, but I just want more. I don't know. I feel like there's like some drama forming in this race, and I haven't seen enough actual plans to be discussed. And those should ultimately, hopefully, be the deciding factors of the ballot booth.
Absolutely. Well, and I think what I've heard from Garden City residents, what, the feedback we get from different articles we've done is housing and development, some call it gentrification, have been major issues. And they had a new zoning code in 2019. It seems like it's been good for some things and really awful for other things. I do want to note that in a Boise Dev article about Bill Jacobs, he did talk about how Garden City needs to adopt dense vertical development because it's landlocked, that you don't have anywhere to expand. But he's also been among the most outspoken on city council about these large areas of the city with no height requirement and how that could impact residents. On the flip side, Molly Lenti has said that she wants growth in Garden City to happen through us, not to us, to the city, to the Garden City residents, which I think is then part of that visionary strategy she keeps talking about with, we need to have a plan, a vision, and it needs to incorporate residents instead of just be something that they react to. So it seems like they are talking about it. Maybe it's one of those tricky things where they're hoping if you don't get into the weeds too much, that people will, be drawn to your perspective and to, these political buzzwords. And then once you get into office, you can, really rubber hits the road a little more. But we'll see.
It feels like a lot of talk right now, and I think Garden City needs more than that. So I hope to see that change over the next few weeks.
Immerse yourself in luxury at Black Rock Mountain Resort. Nestled just outside Park City, they're perfectly placed just minutes from the slopes and buzz of Main Street, but secluded enough to feel like a true mountain escape. Whether you're planning a getaway for a small or large group, their spacious suites, complete with full kitchens and laundry, give you the privacy of home with the elegance of a world-class resort. You can catch Black Rock Mountain Resort's shuttle to the ski slopes or downtown, then recharge in their sauna, steam room, or year-round outdoor pool. Plus, enjoy fresh, locally inspired cuisine at Overlook Restaurant and bold cocktails at On the Rocks Bar. And this November, they're upping the excitement with a new NHL-sized ice arena and concert venue. Black Rock Mountain Resort is your ticket to luxury, adventure, and entertainment, all in one breathtaking destination. Visit blackrockmountainresort.com and use promo code CityCast for 20% off, a $50 resort credit, and 2 p.m. late checkout. Parents, got one of those random school days off coming up? Instead of another full day of screen time, send your kids to a Summit Innovation Lab day camp where their imaginations can run wild and they can turn downtime into discovery. Children can use Tinkercad to design 3D models, then print their own keychains, inventions, or toys, and learn how to turn their imagination into reality. It's a hands-on, beginner-friendly way that Summit Innovation Lab offers your child the chance to combine their creativity with technology and bring their ideas to life. At Summit Innovation Lab, they make STEM accessible and exciting in an inclusive environment where every child belongs. Give your kids a screen-free day they'll never forget. Learn more at summitinnovationlab.com. Blake, we've talked about this next topic before, so I am dying to hear your perspective on this. But there's been several headlines recently about the fact that BSU, Boise State University, is struggling to find a new president. And you actually scooped the story about Trump leaving Boise State earlier this year. The CEO of CityCast has a child attending a university in Vermont, and that's where Trump had accepted a position. So we got a really interesting scoop on that. But at the time, you and I talked about how difficult of a position this would be to fill. And it seems like that's exactly what it is. And it seems like they're really struggling to fill this position. So what all do you think is going into that? How close do you think they are to finding a replacement? And how long do you think this process will drag out?
Yeah, a little bit behind the scenes. Obviously, we don't have a look completely behind the curtain, but just a little bit so that people know. The university, or the State Board of Education, I should say, has put together a search committee and then subcommittees. Like, it's pretty comprehensive. Everybody on it has had to sign NDAs. This is obviously, a high profile job position in Idaho. And so they essentially had the committee and the firm. There was also a $160,000 contract, almost $160,000 contract that was put together for a firm to conduct this search as well. And essentially their job is to find 5 candidates and present them to the state board. Basically, that didn't happen. They sorted through, I think it was 42, I want to say, candidates, and they just didn't have 5 to present to the state board. And I think that is just obviously really notable. I mean, anytime you have this kind of like protection around something and the money behind it, like obviously this is notable. And at the same time, the state board wants to find the right person. I think it makes sense for a lot of reasons that we can talk about, that this is going to be a hard job to fill, like we talked about. However, I do want to point out that this is not the first time that this has happened. In fact, when Marlene Trump, was selected, it was a 1.5 year long process before she was actually hired. The state board had 5 finalists, talked to all of them, went through the entire interview process and said, hey, we really like some of these people, but we didn't find the right fit. And they started over. So this could last even longer. They went through 2 interim presidents at that last time. And so this isn't the first time that the state board has shown that they're really willing to take the right amount of time to find what they feel like is the right person. Now, they are going to struggle with finding the right person because of everything that Trump went through and was, put through. I think from her perspective, or from a potential job candidate's perspective, first of all, likely going to be hiring someone from out of state. People who can run a president like with that kind of resume, they don't grow on trees. Like it's going to be hard to find someone from inside Idaho to fill this presidency that everyone on the committee and everyone on the firm and the state board are going to be happy with, right? So that's one. You're asking someone to move here. 2, President Trump showed that you can increase enrollment numbers, donations, sponsorships, research, and have an increased graduation rate through a pandemic in which most state universities are failing. And you can still get absolutely lambasted. You can still get absolutely roasted in front of your legislature and just grilled every single year throughout the year. And, there's obviously a lot of takes on Dr. Trump, but like if you're another candidate for this job coming in, that's what you're looking at. You're looking at, you could do a really excellent job in so many of the ways that it's important to do an excellent job as a university president, and you could still just get raked over the coals. So that's the question that you and I were asking, is who's going to want to take this job? So yeah, what are you thinking about as you're watching this search happen and hearing this news?
Yeah, I think a lot of the same thoughts. I guess it's not a secret. Idaho makes national news often for very problematic things, and that our legislature and its treatment of universities also makes national news from time to time. And like you said, again, there's a wide array of feelings about Dr. Trump, but by a lot of very standard metrics, she improved life at the university, education, how the university runs, and a lot of growth in the school for students and faculty and the community. And it still was not rewarded by the legislature. It still was a fight every year just to maintain funding, just to walk that tightrope. And so with the divide in our country that is growing about how people view higher education and its role in our society, I'm very curious which candidates would look at a place like Boise State as a place they would like to have this job, as opposed to maybe a blue state that is going to protect funding more, or a state that embraces education more fully. And so I'm curious who will be wanting that position, what will their perspective be, and are they ready for that fight?
Yeah, and so we should say there's a board meeting coming up just early next week for the state board to kind of put their heads together and decide how to move forward. It looks like it's going to be a round 2, just, kind of starting from the top. I'm curious to see how that plays out. and how long this lasts, because I think that Boise State is in a really pivotal time. And it's especially post-pandemic, but I think Dr. Trump's tenure like really brought Boise State into a tier of national recognition, and just a completely new tier, basically, for the university. And I'm sure that the state board does not want to, minimize or lose out on some of that momentum. And so I can imagine that they're feeling the time crunch, but I'm curious to see how much they're going to let it affect their work. And I don't know. I think everyone around the Treasure Valley is kind of like waiting with bated breath on this one. This could be really pivotal for our community.
All right, let's jump into our picks of the week. Blake, what is your pick this week?
Yeah, so mine, it just got complicated. I'm kind of bummed, honestly. I was really looking forward to doing this tomorrow morning. There's a new place. I'm still really excited about it, though. So there's this new place that's opening up. It's called the Dusty Miller. It's a bakery and as well as like a mill, which is really cool. But opening up on the bench on Garden Street near like Orchard Street. Or Orchard Road. They were supposed to open literally this morning, like this Friday morning. And as I just said that I was about to say that on this recording, our executive producer, Frankie, jumped in and was like, hey, so just so you know, that got postponed. It'll open next week. And honestly, I'm just going to stick with it because I'm really excited about it. The only thing I can say is just like go look at their Instagram. They are baking at a tier that I think we don't. Apparently, tier is my word of the day. But with these cake tiers, I guess the pun works.
Yeah, I was saying, no, that's fantastic.
They're just like really baking at a really highly proficient level. Like everything just looks so good. Everything is so beautiful and I think really customizable if you're doing like more specific stuff. But it just looks gorgeous. I'm so excited to check out their new space. I'm a baker, so anytime there's a new bakery, I have to go check it out and make it my personality for at least 3 weeks. And I'm so excited to do that with Dusty Miller. It looks really, really tasty. Even though it's not opening this weekend, I'm sorry, y'all. I'm sticking with it, and that's going to be my pick of the week.
No, I'm glad you did because now I'm checking out their Instagram and
it's gorgeous.
You're
it's
absolutely
gorgeous.
Right. I just caught up on their Maritozzi, the mascarpone Maritozzi, and I'm stuck here. I can't believe. Oh,
no, some of their cakes look so good. I'm like, they need to like do classes because I want to go to their classes.
Oh my gosh, I just found pumpkin cheesecake muffins.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'm looking at this banana praline cake with caramelized apple creme mousseline filling. It looks so good. So I'm just always really excited. Like, I think Boise has a real need. I think that there's like, we have a few good bakeries, but I want us to get better. And I feel like the Dusty Miller is really going to be pushing like taste in bakery, in the baked area. So I'm just very excited.
I was gonna say, I'm very sad they aren't opening this week because I desperately want some of that food, but yeah. I'm excited to have something to look forward to. So Blake, thank you so much for giving me something to look forward to for next week when I will
and they have
absolutely be eating something from there.
Absolutely. Yeah. And they have really cute merch too. So yeah. And what do you have for this week that people can actually do this weekend?
Okay. Well, Blake, I'm so glad you're here because my pick of the week is a pick of the week I never thought I would ever choose. And that's a race. Because I'm not a runner. So that's never like how I want to spend my weekend. But no, Blake, somebody is like a kindred soul with me because there's a race this weekend
called
my God. The Race for the Rest of Us. I am part of the rest of us. I am so excited about this. I saw it. I screamed. I'm so excited. It's October 11th from 10 a.m. to noon. And they bill it as a wacky, fun, one-of-a-kind quote unquote race coming to Caldwell. And it's the area's inaugural race for the rest of us. It's a grueling 0.5K event, 1/3 of a mile, 546.8 yards, 1,640 feet, 19,000 inches. And it's going to take place in front of the Metro Community Services headquarters in Caldwell's Sky Ranch Business Park. Sign-ins take place from 9 a.m. to 10 a.m. And then the walk race will begin at 10 a.m. And, okay, Blake, you're going to love this. The racers will get to re-energize with donuts halfway through the event. everything. If I could have crafted a race, it is this one.
So 270 yards into this race, you get a donut break. Honestly, this is great. Okay, so are you doing it?
Oh, 100%. I'm in.
Okay.
I'm stoked. Like I've been waiting for a race I was excited about my whole life. Now, I do want to note there's a $25 entry fee, but all the proceeds are going to benefit Metro Transportation Services, which provides free transportation for seniors and people with disabilities in Canyon County. And they're also going to be having like wackiest costume prizes. I don't know that I'm going to go that far, but I'm excited to see how creative
You gotta.
people are.
I mean,
well, I don't know. Okay. maybe, but they're going to have like the most spirited group or team. I don't have a team yet. I'm just going to be me. I don't know if I can even convince my family members, the team I made myself, to come with me, but they're going to have awards for best decorated stroller, walker, wheelchair. It's intended for all ages and abilities. It's just supposed to be a fun event to get out the community and fundraise for Metro's transportation services. But I was so excited. I've never been excited about a race in my life. That's not what I do. If I'm running, you should freak out because there's something terrible happening or a bear chasing me. But, I only run when provoked. But I'm really excited about this race.
Honestly, I love this. I think that this is just such a 0.5K, I love it. And you know that people are going to be having a blast. So I hope that you have so much fun. And you better dress up. It's only 0.5K. It's like, you have to make it worth it, I feel like. So I hope it's fun. I love it.
Okay, well, it's going to be a last minute costume. So don't judge me too hard. Nobody, keep your expectations low, everyone. So yeah, we'll have a link in the show notes. If you want to sign up, you can sign up online at their website. But so I'm so glad you're here for my very first, maybe last, unless this becomes a yearly thing.
You're going to get hooked.
Pick of the week.
I can tell. You're going to get hooked. You're going to become a runner. This is how they get you.
The running dopamine's going to get me this time.
No, for real. Yeah. Well, good luck. I hope you have so much fun.
Thank you. Well, Blake, thank you so much for coming on the show. This was a big week with elections and everything. So I appreciate you taking the time to come on the show and break it down with me.
Yeah, thank you. Have a good weekend, everybody.
That's all for today here on CityCast Boise. The show is produced by Evelyn Avitia, Frankie Barnhill, and me, Lindsay Van Allen. Blake Hunter writes our Hey Boise newsletter, and our music is by Up Is the Down Is That and All the Kimonos. If you enjoyed our show today, leave us a review. It helps other people find us. We're off on Monday for Indigenous Peoples Day, but we'll be back Tuesday with a look at Boise's new open space levy on the ballot. Catch you then.